Hello, everyone. So wonderful to see you. I am so excited to be here and to be sharing with you in this way to support you in remembering and attuning to self-love. And I'm going to give it just a moment for people to join live, and so grateful to be supporting in this way as you're choosing to receive. So I'm also going to be sharing a little bit about what we can do to nurture ourselves through this time, because it is truly a very auspicious time of transformation. It's as if we've literally gotten on a rocket ship and taken off. And so some of you may be experiencing a lot of discord in that whatever can't go with you is going to surface to be looked at, to be transmuted, to be chosen again around. And so know that that's an aspect of the self-love, is how do we be with that? How do we love ourselves through that? And so we'd invite you just to take a deep breath and to connect in with your angels, your guides, and the knowing that you are an extension of Source. That separation isn't real. There really isn't Source in you. It's as if Source is this brilliant sun and you are a ray of light emanating from that sun. There's no beginning, no ending, and no where you begin and end, where Source begins and ends. It's all eternal in nature. And that's really who you are. So as we begin to bring in what wishes to support you in this attunement to self-love, is really supporting you in referencing you at the level of your truth. Who you really are as this immaculate, luminous ray of light that is already perfect, whole, and eternal. That's the truth of you. And even if you're not feeling like you're there yet, we would invite you to intend to align with that truth of you. And we're also going to invite your body to join you in that for itself. So just as you are a ray of light emanating from Source, the body Deva, not the physical form, but the body Deva, nature spirit, is a ray of light emanating from Gaia. And when we say ray of light, you can think of it as another dimension of you that we don't get to necessarily always, with our five senses, perceive in this physical dimension. But in another dimension of you, you're light. And this expression here in the physical is an extension of that in a way. It's a reflection of that, really. A reflection based on what we've decided to agree with as we go about our journey in this particular dimension. So if we agree that we're separate from Source, we'll experience ourselves as though we are. That's really how powerful you are. So we'd like to apply this kind of basic metaphysical concept to self-love. And we would invite you just to be at a place with yourself where you're willing to ponder, if you're willing. I wonder what self-love actually is. I know what I've been taught it is. I know all of these kind of concepts around it, that maybe I even took a course on how to love myself more, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But what if I'm actually being invited through this transmission, this now moment, to connect to an even deeper interpretation, an even more accurate meaning of self-love. And it's really beyond what I've maybe put it in a box as. And so are you willing to allow yourself to relax into an idea that maybe self-love is so much more than you ever thought it was? And what if it's actually easier? What if it's actually easier than what this, the world makes it out to be? What if it's actually easier? And so we would invite you to relax into this pondering, because it's just pondering. You always can choose what you choose. And these transmissions aren't to make you choose something other than what you're choosing. It's just, let's explore this. Let's maybe invite an expansion around this so that we can actually have a deeper experience of ourselves and welcome really more of the infinite aspect of you to birth here in this realm that knows what self-love actually is. It's actually already living there. So what if a part of you, as we kind of stay out of concepts for a minute around self-love, what if there's a part of you that already knows what self-love is and how to love yourself completely, fully, unconditionally? What if that part of you already exists? Whoa, that's a wild concept. And what if, because we've kind of been doing the other thing for a while and we've been in this box of thinking we're separate from it, we've been efforting to love ourselves in ways that kind of get us there, but it seems like a lot of work, and at times it can seem so far away. Like, I can't do this. I'm tired. I can't love myself today. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm upset that I didn't get the promotion or the relationship didn't work out or whatever it is. And then we begin to define ourselves through what's the experiences in our world instead of what we really are. And we've kind of been trained to do that. We've really been conditioned to define ourselves through the outer, through our experience, through what other people say or do, or have other people value us or don't value us, acknowledge us, hear us. And what if what's always been waiting to happen amongst all of that is for you to look deep within you and really see you, really hear you from a place of non-judgment, just and the real you, the you that is light, the you that is already free, already loved, already supported, already safe. And that's the you that we're inviting you to allow to step forward. It's you. It's not a separate will or some other being that's going to take over your ability to choose or usurp your power in some way. It's you. It's a higher aspect of you that's been very patiently and lovingly waiting in the background for you to look at it, for you to invite it in. Let it join the party. Let it be part of who you are. Will you? Will you let that you that knows how brilliant and perfect and irreplaceable you are step forward? Because you are irreplaceable. There will never be another you. Your value is so infinite, the mind cannot comprehend it. Only you can do what you do. Only you can be what you are. And there is tremendous value in that. We'd like for you to feel into that truth. It's absolutely true. There's no question. There's no question of how precious you are and the value of you. As we invite you, if you're willing, to bring all your reference points for your value off of the external, off of accomplishments, off of what people think or don't think, of what you think they think or don't think, and off of your mental self into your core, into the heart of you, into your divine, beautiful essence that is immaculate, perfect, whole, brilliant, and it is love at its core. So it knows how to love. Will you let it love you? And we know we're kind of speaking a little bit in riddles here, because the only reason we're saying it that way is that up until now, you perhaps have thought of this part of you as separate from you, when it actually is not. But until you integrate it as you, we're going to talk in terms of a little bit of, yeah, we're thinking it's separate, so let's speak in a way that the mind can relate to it. Will you let this part of you, this eternal love capacity of you, the part of you that knows how to love you, will you let it love you? And it's you loving you. And what if it's just about you giving your permission and then creating a receptivity to it, creating a space of allowing, of letting yourself be loved? Will you let yourself be loved by this eternal, perfect presence that already loves and adores you infinitely? It's already there. So it's as if we can take all of the efforting we've been doing, and yes, some of those tools may still be helpful, but what if you could repurpose them in this new attitude, in this new perspective, that it's not about trying to love yourself. It's about allowing the part of you that already loves you take the lead. Step forward. And you still have free choice. You can tell it to get out of here anytime you want. You can go back to efforting anytime you want. We're not giving anything up by choosing to let this love in. And so everywhere you've decided that this love is separate from you, that you have to earn it, you have to fix something about you to deserve it, all of these ways that we've decided we're separate from this love, that it's somewhere in the future after the promotion, or after I lose the weight, or after I get the relationship, or the new next level of my life. What if that's the thought system, the way of being, that keeps you appearing to be separate from the love that you already have for you, the love that already exists? And when you allow yourself to be in the presence of this love, to acknowledge that it is, to allow it maybe first to be a vibrational remembering beyond the conscious mind, and then eventually it becomes conscious to you, which is really how a lot of what we share works. It's really a vibrational remembering first, and then it can become conscious over however much time it needs to take to become conscious. And there's no right or wrong, and there's no race to the end. It's really about choosing in favor of your truth, your light, until that becomes your experience of yourself, and then everything gets much easier because you're no longer searching for it out in the world. Everything you've been searching for, the fulfillment, the joy, the freedom, you actually already have within your being. And so are you willing to release all the attachment to the outer as your source of freedom, of love, of expansion, of joy, of whatever it is you're deeply desiring? And what if this ray of light that you truly be, that emanates from Source itself, from God itself, whatever label you wish to use, life itself, this beautiful, perfect light that is you contains within it infinite possibility, infinite choice, meaning every single vibration that exists. And when you activate that vibration within your light, it gets to reflect in your world. It's that easy. And what it requires is just for really to rewire how we're perceiving ourselves and release the attachment off of the outer, the stories, the stuff we've been taught that we are, all of the conditioning around how we get the freedom or the joy or the abundance or the love, because it's not outside of you. It appears to be, and that's what gets confusing. But when you activate it within you, it reflects in your world. And so you do experience it to the degree to which you've activated it within yourself. But truly you have the capacity to activate within you whatever you choose. And as you begin to function as this light that you truly be, that you were created as, in its pureness, the sense of separation falls away and you simply merge with the love that you already are, that already is, that is eternal, that is unconditional and unattached to outcomes, because it knows what it is. It knows it's already safe, it's already supported, it's already fully embraced by the divine. And when we function from this love, it functions at a specific frequency that is beyond fear, beyond lack, beyond needing to attack or defend itself. It's outside of those constructs of consciousness, the right or wrong. It just is, and it knows that at that level of truth, only love is real, so there's nothing to oppose. There's nothing to try to get rid of or fix or overcome. So there's no struggle. There's no other than love. There's just love and everything that comes along with it at that frequency, everything that's compatible with that frequency. Pure love. We're not talking about the kind of love that's conditional and codependent, which is really the kind of love that we've been taught to do and doesn't really work because it's not really love. And then we wonder why it seems to let us down. So we'd like to bring in some support, some energetic support to, and if this brings up emotion for you, we encourage you, you don't have to, but we encourage you to allow yourself to feel it because it's a healing taking place for you. We're going to bring in some energetic support to really support you in moving through any grief or sense of loss where you thought this love, this eternal love, let you down, abandoned you, left you, didn't love you, that somehow there was something wrong with you. And what if it wasn't really what we thought it was? So the experiences we had when we thought love let us down, when we thought love abandoned us, what if that wasn't really love that did that? It was our perception at the time. So can we show you what was really going on? Because when you create a positioning energetically in vibration that you're separate from love, and we try to do another version of it that really isn't love, because it's a distorted frequency, it's not really true love, it's a substitute, we get like this hit or miss experience with love because it's kind of sort of love but not really. So that's what we get, kind of sort of love but not really. And then we decide that there's something wrong with us, we don't deserve it, that we're somehow less than. So are you willing to let go of all those conclusions that were never true? Never ever true. Never ever true. No matter what you experienced, it wasn't true if it wasn't unconditional love for you. That's the absolute truth. And it will always be true. No matter what you appear to do or not do, this love loves you unconditionally. Will you let it? And it is loving you, but as you let it, you let in the awareness of it, you let in the experience of it, so that you can begin functioning from that place. And the self-love becomes the result of you identifying accurately who you really are, instead of what we're taught we are and trying to love that. Not that our expression here isn't a contribution, because it is, but our expression in this realm, the physical form, the job we do, the way we interact with others, the expression here in this realm is not what our value is. Our value is eternal and inherent in our light. And our expression here in this realm also does not define us. Your light defines you, and it is immaculate. It is. And it doesn't matter what you've appeared to do or not do in this realm. You've never tarnished your light. Your light is still your light. It's almost as if you pretended to be something else for a while and you were wearing certain costumes or masks. And it was learning. It was learning that took place to bring you to this moment where you're ready to reunite with the truth of what you are. So will you let yourself off the hook? You forgive yourself for whatever it is you think you did that was unforgivable. Because the divine has already forgiven you. The divine knows what you are. The divine will never lose sight of what you are, no matter what you pretend to be. Take a deep breath. And let it in. This unconditional love that wishes to love you and embrace you. And the self-love that will be an extension of that, because as you relate to yourself as your light and fall in love with your light, it's easy to love you. It's really easy to love you. It's really easy to love you. Will you let it be? Yeah, and will you let it be about what it's really about, and not about all the stuff we're taught that it's about being a certain way in this realm, or showing up in a certain capacity, or the thing is, we've been taught, many of us have been taught to be so hard on ourselves if we don't meet a certain standard or fit into a paradigm that we're taught is like the ideal, or who you are if you're a good person, or who you are if you are accomplished or successful or smart or liked by others. All of that is consciousness that is based in limitation and boxes that we try to fit ourselves into as an infinite being, a unique expression of the divine that you are, the snowflake that you are. There will never be another you. You try to then contort yourself into that box of expectations that we're taught is the success, is the love, is the joy, is the whatever, instead of just being who you are and relaxing around the divine perfection of you and letting it express in ways that delight and inspire it. Because the ways that delight and inspire you are there for a reason. It's like those impulses, what you like to do, what you prefer, what you resonate with, is there to support you in expressing in this realm in the most honoring way that supports your joy, your happiness, your freedom, you experiencing yourself in a more accurate sense of your light. And what happens is we tend to deprive ourselves of pieces of that because we're taught that it doesn't fit into the norm, it doesn't fit into a paradigm, people don't understand it and maybe they're afraid of it. I've been through it. I get it. I get it. So what if you could just begin expressing in small ways first your unique essence in ways that bring you joy? And it doesn't have to be in a public way. It could just be with yourself. And what if that's a form of loving you? What if it's one of the highest forms of loving you? Is giving yourself permission to be you. And so we're going to support you in bringing all of your energy back from where you were attempting to use it to fit in to being seen a certain way by others, or liked by others, or approved of by others. And what if, as you approve of yourself, because you're amazing, and begin to give yourself permission to release all the conclusions that aren't true about you that you've made, and start to open around your perception of you where you can really connect to the truth of what you are, then the outer can transform because it can reflect what you're being in relationship to you. Just let that sink in for a moment. And what if the foundation of everything you desire really hinges upon your relationship with you? What you're perceiving yourself as, who you've decided you are. And whatever you decide you are will reflect in your world because you're that powerful. In the higher realms, you just are, and you get to experience yourself in the truth of you. But here it's almost like a playground where we can try different costumes on, and we're learning from it. We're learning. And so what if it's time for you to use all that learning that's taken place to begin to use your faculties in a way, your faculties of intention, of choice, which are very powerful, to choose your way into an experience of yourself that's more aligned with the truth of you, and therefore much more honoring in all ways. It reflects in all areas of your life. This one piece, this one, it's like a linchpin. It's like the butterfly effect. When we shift this one thing, everything else will shift too. And so what would it take for you to, first of all, crank up the courage? Because it takes a lot of courage to start kind of looking at these ways that we've maybe been relating to ourselves. And the reason it does is there's a part of us that's really afraid of change. And so that's our defense mechanisms, because it's survival, in survival consciousness, change meant we're not safe. And we're in the midst right now of graduating from those paradigms of survival consciousness, and they're being invited to retire. That's how evolution works. Like, this isn't, it's funny because when I talk to some people who really aren't familiar with this type of work, they're like, well, what do you mean you work with energy and da-da-da, and what do you mean evolution of consciousness? I'm like, everything's always evolving. Like, that's the basis of this realm. Everything's always evolving. And so the really cool thing is that we can begin to evolve consciously. Instead of just willy-nilly at the mercy of whatever wants to happen, we can actually choose in favor of the evolution, in favor of the change. And not only do we accelerate our evolution that way, but it gets to be much more enjoyable and much more honoring. And we step out of the identification as a victim, which then doesn't have to reflect in our world anymore, which is beautiful. It's just much more empowering. So anyway, take a deep breath and see where this wants to go. So yeah, so as you connect to the core of you, the truth of you as your light, and you bring all your reference points for you off of everyone and everything external, out of the past, out of the future, into this now moment, into your column of light, your ray of light that you truly be, that extends down through the body, things get a lot more clear. What you desire gets a lot more clear. You loving you gets a lot more simplified. Because you're no longer trying to fit into a box that somebody else created and said, this is the way. You get to create your own way to you based on your uniqueness, because you are unique. We each are unique expressions, and we each have our own way of calling in and inviting a more honoring experience for ourselves. So the tools that we share here and in these sessions are really meant to support and encourage you, but we also invite you to tap into your unique way of expanding and evolving. And it's a bit of a process, if you're new to this, to connect into your light and you at the level of your higher self, and to begin kind of opening those lines of communication so that you can begin to hear more clearly that voice of your divine self. And for me, one of the main tools for that was meditation. But you may find your own way. And I often share how I got from A to B to C to D to wherever I am now, just as a way to give an example. It's meant to be an example. It's not meant to be the only path, right? This is what I went through. And it's also to communicate that, you know what, I started out right where you are. And if I can do it, you can do it. So it's meant to communicate from this place of equanimity. We all have these capacities. It's a matter of activating them within ourselves if we choose, if it lights us up to do that, if it's something we deeply desire to have that direct connection, that direct communication with our divine self, with our guides, with our angels. It's here for the asking, they're saying. It's like the guides are saying, it's here for the asking. So you can just begin inviting it. So how do you invite it? You ask. You ask. And it gets much easier to love yourself when you give yourself the freedom to be you, unapologetically, not because you're trying to prove something right or wrong, but simply because it's like I'm being shown you letting the chains off of you, trying to fit into something that doesn't resonate with you, that doesn't work for you. And for most of us, that's why we developed maybe tumultuous relationship with ourselves, because we thought there was something wrong with us if we weren't like so-and-so. And when you are a unique snowflake, it's not helpful to compare yourself to another snowflake, because you're going to be different. So can we show you how to begin to retire that mechanism of comparison in favor of the knowing that, of course, you're going to be different. Of course, every single aspect of life is going to be its own unique expression. That's actually the divine design. And that is your innate value. There will never be another you. Feel into that. That's really, I mean, I always get blown out of the water what's going to be called in during these sessions, but tonight it's this recognition really, really, really deeply wants to occur within you. So as you're willing, you can invite it, this recognition of your value. And it's in a pure, it's so pure, oh my gosh, it's just, whoa. So you can imagine, if you're new to this, just breathing in the frequency, the energy, and I often refer to it as like an energetic elixir from your higher self that's just reminding you of your value. And it's not intellectual at first, normally, I should say normally. It comes in as a vibration, then it will reveal itself. It'll kind of unpack itself in a way the conscious mind can wrap itself around it. But you are so much more than your intellect. Your intellect is an aspect of you but it's not who you are. Your emotions are an aspect of you, but they're not who you are, your emotional body. So can we show you how to relate to yourself in the wholeness of you? Like your multidimensional self, the allness of you. Not just identifying with you as this, or this, is like what you do for a living, or who you are in a relationship, or maybe as a mother or father or child or brother or sister in a role. Can we show you how to expand that around that and say, okay, this is a way I express myself in this realm. This is a way that I maybe function right now, but I'm open to being more of who I am. I'm open to merging back into identifying myself in the wholeness of me, in the big picture of what I really am as an eternal being of light. And take a deep breath. Keep breathing. There's more of you. There's more of you. Will you let more of you in? More of you. And take another breath. If you're willing, this is all free will based. And it's you doing this for you. It's your higher self working with you. I'm just being a voice to point to things, to share information, and to invite you into certain choices. But it's an invitation. It's not a, you have to do this. It's your free will. And then it's your energy shifting your energy. It's not anything outside of you shifting you. That's why this work leaves you feeling more empowered. Because there aren't words for this. Let me just let this in a vibrational way first. You are an infinite expression extending from source. That's who you are. Of love, of light, freedom. And whatever else you experience yourself as is simply an indicator of somewhere in your energetic field, in your consciousness, where you've chosen to identify at a lower frequency or agree to a construct that is incompatible with the truth of you. And that's really all that's ever happening. And there's nothing right or wrong about any of it. But once you're aware of, oh, this is how it works, you can begin to choose in a conscious way what you're choosing to agree and align with. And we would encourage you to invite your body, David, to do the same. Because as you journey together up the spiral, it gets much more honoring. If you try to leave the body behind, you're going to feel it as a it's like a tension that happens, a resistance. So we're just going to bring in some energetic information around that, and you can take it or leave it if it resonates. We've done a lot of teachings around this. My perspective around this has shifted tremendously in the last 2 years. And when I was willing to step into this interpretation, a lot was able to shift for me that I'd been working on that felt stuck, that it wouldn't actually move. So feel into that for you. There may be some lines of energy for you to follow there and explore. We have offered some series based on that to support you in moving into that. And we're actually also going to be offering a podcast coming up. And the podcast is free, obviously, and it's really meant to share information. Because as I was invited recently, in the last year really, to do several telesummits, when I would complete the telesummit, for at least a day afterwards, I would have so many teachings that wanted to expressed through me, and I didn't really have an outlet for them because they were more of a fundamental nature. And the groups that I have established that I work with in an advanced way, the Expanding New Ways of Being group, and then other series offerings that I do, those kind of assume that you've already got the fundamentals down. So what I recognized is there was maybe a bit of a gap that wanted to be bridged, and there were teachings that wanted to come forth. And so the podcast is really a way for that to occur. And while I know that there will be energetic stuff happening because it just happens when I start talking, it'll be more focused on moving into greater clarity around what we're actually choosing and more of the fundamental workings of consciousness and the relationship with the body deva and those kinds of things. So know that that's coming. We're going to be announcing the launch very soon. And it's going to be called Awaken, New Ways of Being. So we'd love to have you join and listen and share that as much as possible. And we'll announce it here on the Facebook page when it happens. So I'm being shown some lines of energy that are unique to each of you that are really coming from the higher realms. You can say your guides, your advisor, the Council of Light, which is a group of benevolent beings of light that are really here to help us bridge into unity consciousness from separation consciousness. And in addition, your future selves as ascended masters. So would you be willing to allow your being to receive this? And we're actually going to invite the body, David, to do the same for itself. So it receives from its higher self. You receive from your higher self. It's really beautiful. So they'd like for me to speak a little bit too while this is occurring. A lot of what's happening, we always talk about this world as a reflection, and a lot that's happening right now with the earthquakes and the fires and different things, it's all reflecting Gaia's upshift into a higher vibration, a higher octave. And so we would encourage tapping into your own guidance around this, your own higher self, and getting information. But from our perspective, it's really nothing to fear, nothing to resist. There's nothing wrong. It is Gaia's, the Earth Mother's way of shifting, purging, lifting off old energetic grids that are spaced in separation. So it's a purification of sorts and a shifting, which literally earthquakes are symbolic of. And so recognize that in the highest level, all souls involved with any of it, on some level, have, before they incarnated, a contract to participate in that way for their own, whatever it is, their own learning, their own way of moving through shifts for themselves. And so in the bigger picture of things, it's all healing taking place. Is what we would encourage the perspective of. And it's temporary. It's temporary. Because this year is a rapid acceleration into greater manifestations in this realm. So when we say manifestations, bringing into the physical realm what's already taken place in the higher realms. And so everything you've been going through, we'll just speak to you now at a personal level, everything you've been going through has created evolution for yourself in the higher realms. And now, based on what you've chosen around it and how much conscious evolving you've been doing and choosing in favor of truth and love instead of fear and separation, that's now really rapidly accelerating into manifestation. And why couldn't it happen before? Well, it was, but just not at the pace it is now, because Gaia is now shifting, and the collective is now shifting, and this realm, you've been supporting this realm, preparing itself to be able to receive these higher octaves of light. And as this realm has been prepared to receive these higher octaves of light, which these manifestations will represent, so have you. So this realm can now withstand that level of light, that frequency, that vibration. And it's also a reflection of how you've evolved and how you can now withstand higher vibrations, higher expressions. Excellent. I'm going to take a deep breath. So are you willing to let go of any of the energies of the collective that is a very loving, compassionate being you've been attempting to do something with, that aren't yours? It's like when Gaia's shifting in this way, and it's really an energetic detox, our body devas will actually feel it empathically and try to do some of it for Gaia. And so that's actually codependent, and that could be a whole session in and of itself. But what we would invite you into is the knowing of your sovereignty as a being of light. That just as you emanate from Source and have everything within you you require to evolve, to activate within yourself in order to have whatever it is you desire, so does Gaia. So you don't need to be Source for her. So can we show you, or for the collective, can we show you how to redirect your energetic stance appropriately, and your body deva as well, so you're not attempting to be Source for anyone or anything else, especially for this current detox, purification, major upshift that's going on. And what if this is an aspect of loving yourself too? Loving yourself so much that you're no longer going to do paradigms of sacrifice as a way of being of service, because that's really not being of service. The way you be of service is you hold the higher octave of vibration to model it and demonstrate it to the rest of the beings, to Gaia, to everyone and everything. And in holding the higher vibration, you support everything and moving into that higher vibration. When you lower your vibration to sacrifice, you can feel it. It's like, oh, and then you start taking on other people's stuff because it's supposedly virtuous. And you can't process what isn't yours. It's not coded for you. You're a unique snowflake. They're a unique snowflake. They have everything required within them to process everything. So you let them have it because it's fuel for their evolution. Just as when you process something for you that's yours, you go up about 50 octaves. Can we show you how to do that? And this again is a very it's like speed dating, but it's speed teaching this concept, but we're showing you energetically. So you can, if you're willing, allow your system to move into this sovereign configuration of vertical alignment with Source. Source is my source, and I'm going to let Source be Source for everyone else, because that's the divine design. When I try to be the Source, it actually mucks everything up for everybody. It's not helpful. Trust me, it's not helpful. Woo! So you return all that energy you were trying to process that is not yours back to its right and perfect place, along with appropriate and relevant information at the level it can be received as fuel for their evolution. Yay! It's all a divine design. Beautiful. And take a deep breath, and then any of your energy that you kind of put on them as a way to support them or love them or shift them. This is an old paradigm of healing that we were taught, is to use our energy, our mastery, our gifts on other people in order to shift them instead of empowering them to use their own energy to shift themselves. Can we bring that in as a download? This is like the speed class. I don't know what's happening. I'm just going with it. Yeah. So it's coming in. Just let it come all the way in. As you're willing. So when we were functioning from the old paradigm of healing, it was based in the concepts of separation. Meaning, I'm separate from source, you're separate from source, so I have to be source for you. Let me give you what I have so you can have it. But the thing is, when we do that, then we don't have it. And then we wonder why we're in lack and separation and not safe and not protected and not this and not that. Well, we've given it all away. And the thing is, we can give it to them, but it doesn't work for them because it's not calibrated for them. Their unique frequency, their unique song, their note that they're here to play, their divine blueprint is very different from yours. And it's like trying to run an Android app on an iPhone. It doesn't work. It's not compatible. So will you bring all your energy back to you that you gave away, trying to be helpful, trying to be loving, recognizing now that, oh, that wasn't really helpful. Not from a place of judgment, but from awareness. Oh, that's not helpful. They have access to their own infinite source, their own support, their own love, their own energy, their own empowerment. I don't give it to them. I demonstrate how to access it within me so they can see how to access it within them. And then everybody wins. Everybody gets to have. And lack gets to dissolve into the oblivion that it really is, because there really isn't lack. We create the illusion of it when we give away what we have from a paradigm of separation, and then we don't get to have it, and it doesn't get to reflect in our world. And it's not helpful for anybody to do it. So are you willing to invite your higher self, your body, David's higher self, to retrieve all the energetic fabric of your creativity, your control, your attachment, your desire, your wanting, your gifts, your mastery, your protection that you gave to somebody else in any incarnation, any realm, any dimension, thinking that it was virtuous, that it was helpful, that it was loving, it was a way to be supportive. And really your energetic fabric of support. Will you bring all of that back to you now? Inviting the body, David, to do the same. Clean it, clear it, recalibrate it for you. Making sure it's recalibrated for you because it's been on them probably for eons in some cases. Let's recalibrate it for ourselves and then reweave it in your energetic fields. And so we're not doing this in a mental capacity. I'm inviting almost like a set of instructions for your higher self to follow if it's willing, if you're willing, and if you give your permission. And same for the body, Deva. This is really a year for us to stand in our spiritual power and authority as the being of light we truly be. And self-love is an aspect of that. And as we mentioned earlier, it is a bit of a turning point where everything it has a butterfly effect in your experience of yourself, because however you're identifying is what you will experience yourself as. And we know it's a bit of a radical approach to self-love, but that's what I do. I do radical. I do, let's just take the whole system and rewire it. So, anyway, if it resonates for you to do more of this with me, we're going to be hosting a 4-session series, 4 90-minute sessions on Awaken to Self-Love. And it's going to go against the paradigms. It's going to be like not what we think it's going to be. But it will support you in really deeply connecting to your value and truth and moving into this alignment, this vibrational rewiring of loving the self, knowing who you are in truth, so that it can reflect in your world and your experience of yourself. And what we've been taught is to try to do the heavy lifting out here. And while that can be helpful to try to change things in the outer, it's really about doing it energetically within your energetic fields. And it makes it so much easier then to do the things that love and nurture you in the outer. You already know. We could have spent an hour talking about what to do to love and nurture you. You already know what that is. You know what you like. You know what nurtures you. You know what makes you feel embraced by yumminess. Do that, yes. And as you reframe your energetic fields into a more honoring configuration that's really aligned with the truth of what you are, it gets easier to do those things for yourself and you don't talk yourself out of it. The critical mind isn't running 10,000 miles an hour and telling you don't deserve it. That stuff will just naturally fall away as you connect with the light that you are and identify as the light that you are. And invite, part of this is not just through intention and like efforting just from this level. It's about connecting with the bigger you, the higher self, the divine self, the part of you that's already in that alignment, that knowing, that experience of itself, and inviting the transmissions, inviting the remembering to take place within you here. Because if we try to do it just as the small self, we don't access all of our resources that we have access to. And it takes a lot longer and it takes a lot more effort. So a lot of nuggets here for you. And I know many of you are doing other sessions with me and you know a lot of this, but it's helpful to hear it again and again, because when we go out in the world, everybody's doing it the other way, and we can get disoriented, we can forget, we can get off into another experience that we're affirming for ourselves. So in whatever way honors you, we encourage you to tap into what lights you up, and yes, give yourself permission to be that, to experience that, and make time, whatever it looks like for you. Maybe it's sitting on the beach, maybe it's in nature, in a garden somewhere, going for a walk, listening, re-listening to this session, meditating, whatever it is, playing with your animals, where you ponder, like consciously ponder your light. It's like consciously choose to connect to the truth of you, that you are this beautiful ray of light emanating from source. And the separation isn't real, never was. So anywhere where you're experiencing yourself as separate from source is an indicator of a choice you have in front of you to make again within your energetic fields. And we demonstrated a lot of those tools here in this session, and there are many more that if you go and listen on YouTube or other videos we've done, or even recordings it's on SoundCloud and in our podcast that's coming up, it'll help you to begin to move into these new ways of being, these new frameworks for functioning that allow you to function from the truth of you, no matter what anyone else is doing, no matter what we've been taught, regardless of how long we've been in the other experience of ourselves. Because it's really just a choice away. You know, we could have been doing something the same way for 10 years, but if we decide today we're going to do it differently, that's the only choice that needs to happen, is that one choice in that one moment where we stand in our power and we choose to be who we are and know that we have choice, and know that it matters, and know that regardless of what you choose or don't choose, this is the beauty of all of it. It's not that your choice doesn't matter, but regardless of what you choose or don't choose to experience yourself as here in this realm, you will always be an eternal, brilliant, beautiful light that is beaming and perfect and whole, and contains within it every single capacity and potential that you desire and that you require to function in this realm. And when we speak of that, we're talking in terms of frequency. And as you work with your higher self to activate specific frequencies, then it gets to reflect in your world. And it may take a little bit of persistence at first if you're new to this, because you may have been in another configuration of vibration for some time, and it's about retraining yourself into the new octave. And so that can take a little bit of training, how we're perceiving, what we're choosing, how we're identifying. And so that's why we're encouraging you to create a time for you to ponder who you truly be in spite of what you're experiencing in your world, or in spite of circumstances, because circumstances don't define you. All right. Well, so much love to you. And if you want to come play with us in the Awaken to Self-Love series, it starts February 8th, and it's going to be 4 90-minute video sessions. The last 30 minutes of each session is set aside for Q&A. So you will get to ask questions, and we'd love to have you. There's an early bird rate that expires. We actually are going to extend it because we wanted to do this a couple days ago and it didn't happen. So we're going to extend it. It's supposed to expire tomorrow, but we're actually going to extend it to Saturday. So if you register by Saturday, you can get the early bird rate, and you actually own the recordings then that you can listen to over and over for as many times as you feel guided. These recordings are multidimensional in that when you re-listen, you will get it on a deeper level. You'll get different things from it. It'll support you in attuning to this line of energy in a deeper way and shifting even more. And so up to, I'm getting 17 to 20 times. You're going to get something new every time, is what I'm being shown. So follow, as always, with everything, follow what resonates for you, because whatever resonates for you is exactly what you're being called into. And will you give yourself permission to do what honors you? Because that is loving you. Doing what honors you is loving you. It is. And it's actually, it gets easier when we're not trying to choose from another perspective of what we think we should be doing, or what somebody else told us we should be doing, or meeting certain expectations. And those are all things that we're going to chip away at in this 4-session series. So if you feel like joining us, we'd love to have you. And otherwise, I know that I'll connect to each of you again. And if you would like to check out our YouTube channel, there's a lot of videos out there that can support you, as well as other Facebook uploads that we have here on this page. So many blessings to each of you, and thank you so much for your presence. I will put a link to the series in the comments once I complete the video. So if you want to find it easily, you can look there, or you can go to embracingtheinfinite.com. May you move forward in the remembering that you are already perfect, whole, infinitely loved, and of infinite value to all life. Much love and many blessings.